The holidays can be full of joy, but it can also cause an immense amount of mental stress. This morning, we're talking about the challenges some may face during this time of year, how art and music can help get through some of those emotions, and the help available 24 hours a day. Let's go on the record.
From WPBF 25, this is On the Record with Nathalie Pozo.
Good morning. The holidays can bring a lot of different emotions. We're talking about happiness, joy, gratitude, but it can also bring sadness, loneliness, and grief. This morning, we're talking about holiday mental stress. We start with Dr. Megan LaFata, a psychiatrist with HCA Florida JFK North Hospital. Doctor, thanks so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the challenges that people face during the holidays.
I think that one of the biggest challenges that people face is the expectation that comes along with the holidays, whether it's hosting or having to organize or, making sure everyone's taken care of gift-wise for the holiday season. That expectation that, you should be happy and having a wonderful time when maybe otherwise you feel differently is a big issue that I think that people see.
How do you think we can manage those expectations?
I think recognizing that, especially with social media now, you see what you should be feeling, but recognizing that maybe not always is the case.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to say emotions out loud, being able to speak to people, speak to family members about, how you're feeling and what's going on, even reaching out to friends, I think is a big help.
Like we mentioned at the beginning of the program, the holidays can bring up some feelings of joy and happiness, mm-hmm. right? But it can also be very lonely for some people. Maybe they've lost a loved one recently or,
mm-hmm.
They're grieving. What advice do you have for people that may be dealing with something like that?
I think that, there's always an opportunity to make new traditions. Another thing would be if you notice or you know of someone who maybe this is their first holiday alone, that they are grieving, or maybe even they just relocated, reaching out to them, not necessarily saying, hey, I'm here for you, but rather, here's something we could do. Would you like to go for a walk? Would you want to come over and just grab a quick bite to eat? Even simple things that give them that option to be able to join into something new and letting them know, hey, it's okay, I know this is going to be a hard time for you, but we're still here.
How can people manage depression during the holiday season? And what signs can loved ones look out for?
A lot of the times with depression, this is a season where it is definitely exacerbated for many people. Again, going into, the stress that comes along financially, planning, things like that. But when you're looking for different signs and symptoms, a lot of the times people start to withdraw. If someone who is usually like on top of things, always planning, ready to go, if you start to notice that they are, canceling plans, maybe not reaching out as much. If you have someone who's saying, I'm just too tired, they're going to be quieter signs, but that's this type of thing that you want to look out for.
So we're talking about maybe signs that you're seeing, but what about the ones that you don't see? Let's say that you have someone that's a very happy person, mm-hmm. and you think there's no way that they could be going to any, through any of these kind of emotions. Mm-hmm. What can we look out for in that way?
And when you have, those are the type of people that sometimes that's like a coping mechanism mm-hmm. for them. I think if you start to notice them kind of going above and beyond, where it's everything is scheduled, planned, they're reaching out to absolutely everyone, and you can kind of see it, more so along the seams than anything else. Maybe they're not sleeping, maybe they're reaching out even more. That would be some of the signs and symptoms you'd want to look out for.
What about an individual person who may be watching, and says, well, I don't feel any of those, the sadness or the loneliness, and I'm perfectly happy, but maybe there are some things going on the inside that you may not be aware of. How can we be more self-aware is what I'm getting at?
I think when it comes to being more self-aware, it's recognizing that the holidays amplify all those kind of baseline emotions that we are struggling with, whether it is joy, or it is happiness, or it is grief, or it is loneliness, irritability. Being able to take a step back and say, it's okay to have this mix of emotions, and then being able to name them. I think being able to say them out loud, I think, is important too.
I want to talk a little bit about children too, and
mm-hmm.
the holidays. Can children go through emotions like this as well?
Absolutely, but rather than coming out and saying something to you, a lot of the times you'll notice changes in behavior, whether they regress, whether they become more clingy, or maybe even just more irritable. Those are things to look out for in children because they handle this stress a little bit differently than we do.
And what can we do if we are seeing maybe some of those signs in our children?
I think with children, the most important thing is going to be structure. With the school break and everything, mm-hmm. routines change, and that's a huge, stressor for them. So keeping some form of structure is important. I also think opening up to them and saying, I can see that this is going on. Talk to me. What are you feeling? And allowing them to feel those emotions is okay too. So even if they're maybe misbehaving more, it's more so a form of communication than anything else.
Yeah. You mentioned new traditions earlier. Is that something that you could do with the kids over the holiday too, to maybe help manage some of that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if it's like a first holiday, without maybe a certain family member or in a new area, something like that.
I want to talk a little bit about just what you see just in your profession during the holiday season. What do you see? Does something maybe increase a lot during this time of year?
During this time of year, the one thing we do see quite a bit of is you'll see an increase a lot of the times in alcohol use. That is a coping mechanism that unfortunately some people do turn to. Another thing we will see, especially coming into the hospital, is an increase in, depressive visits, like depression and, suicidal ideation and things like that.
We've also just heard in the past, and please, provide your insight here, that we see a rise in crime sometimes during the holiday season as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it goes along with some of it's probably stress, trying to provide, making sure everything's taken care of, in other ways. It's also a form of acting out, cry for help as well.
All right. Well, Dr. LaFatta, thank you so much for being here
Thank
with
you.
us this morning. Dr. Megan LaFatta, psychiatrist with HCA Florida JFK North Hospital. Well, coming up here, a unique form of therapy involving music and art. That's coming up.
You're watching On the Record on WPBF 25.
Well, welcome back. This morning we're talking about holiday mental health. HCA Florida JFK North Hospital offers art, music, and activity therapies as part of their mental health programs. We have Leah Rockman here with us today. She's a social worker and also a licensed mental health counselor to talk more about the program with us. Good morning, Leah.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. So tell us more about this program out of the hospital.
Yes, we have licensed art and music therapists that work here at JFK North Hospital. They do groups daily with all the populations in the hospital where they specialize in creating a safe environment for individuals who have a hard time talking to express themselves either with music or art and give them a comfortable space to show how they're feeling and to interact with their peers and, socialize with them to see, are you feeling the same way, or what other song do you feel like would represent this feeling of sadness, or what other mental health concerns they're going through at the moment. And it's just a safe space that they provide for them in order to work through their mental health problems that they're having at the moment.
And is that someone who's currently at the hospital, or can people that are not at the hospital also come and take part?
So it's an inpatient program.
Okay.
We have two. We have one that specializes in art and one that specializes in music, and they alternate throughout the day to do groups on each different unit that we have.
All right, for people who may be watching this morning who are thinking, I want to kind of implement this in my house, what are some things they can do to implement that music, art, and activities therapy at home?
Of course, so there's outpatient programs where there are licensed professionals that are specialized in the art and music, and they can book appointments outpatient for them, or if it's just in home with families and you're just noticing a family member or a loved one is feeling depressed or isolated, you can always, be like, oh, I know they love this type of music, or are they feeling sad, and kind of just put on music and try to see where it goes to, or if they change the tune, or if they try to change it to a different way, and just kind of pay attention to what's happening, because it's a way for them to be able to express themselves without speaking to you and say, hey, I feel really depressed, because sometimes talk therapy doesn't work for everyone.
Mm-hmm. What about the art therapy? So how does that exactly work?
So with art therapy, a big one can be, I want you to draw what depression looks like for you, or what do you feel right now? And it just gives them an outlet to kind of write it on a piece of paper, again, without having to express it verbally, because not everyone has the words or feel comfortable voicing it, especially if we're talking about our younger ones, our little ones. They can't always put the words together of what they're feeling, but sometimes with play therapy and art therapy, they're able to put everything together to show this is what it looks
I'm feeling,
like.
right? So let's say, for example, we have, a parent is doing this maybe with their child at home, right? And they do that. And the child maybe is expressing a feeling of sadness. Would that be fair to say, something you would see? Okay, so what can the parent do then in that moment?
So in that moment, they would they can get paper, right? And they can say, hey, can you show me what you're feeling? And maybe they'll draw a sad face. And then from there, they're like, okay, so they are feeling sad. So then it'd be kind of just meeting them where they are, making sure you're talking with them, sitting with them, and saying, can you tell me what makes you sad? Can you show me a picture of what's making you sad? And it can be like the cat is sick, so they're drawing just a picture of the cat. So now you're seeing that, or maybe grandpa isn't here this holiday, so they drew a picture of grandpa. So it's just a way for them to show in steps of what's going on.
And then maybe you can even connect with them also in that, let's say that, grandpa's not here anymore. Well, I miss him too, and you can kind of have that connection, that bond with your child. All right, Leah, that's some really great advice there. Let's talk a little bit about, I feel like technology surrounds us, right? We're just surrounded by it 24/7. Does technology play a role in this therapy program?
Yes, so we do allow the use of like an iPad or a phone, depending on what the therapist does have, in order for them to, pick a song, go through on YouTube. Of course, they're being, monitored of what they're really looking up and playing and what's appropriate. So we do allow them to, pick the song on Spotify or pick the song that they really want, or say, hey, can you play this music by this certain group, in order to make sure we're giving them full access to everything that they want.
What about maybe connecting with family members or friends, that they're not going to be able to share the holidays with? I remember, I lived away from home for so long for work, and had to work many holidays, and that was something that brought me so much joy, was to be able to FaceTime my nieces and nephews, my mom, and just say hello and that I love them and miss them.
Yes, so we do have multiple telephones on the units, and they do have access to call them whenever they feel like it, or a family can call in and say, hey, I want to speak to my loved one, and we put them on the phone to make sure that there isn't any issues with them communicating with them during this tough time, because it's hard to be away from them, especially for having any depression or issues where they are not going to be able to see them.
We talked to Dr. LaFata in our previous segment. She brought up new traditions, how that's something could also help, during the holidays. What advice do you have in maybe implementing some new traditions?
I think new traditions is something good if thinking about old tradition brings sadness or just not the positive or happy feelings you would like to have around it. Good ones would be traveling, going by yourself or bringing loved ones to go see new things. If being home isn't what's making you comfortable, or it's just not making you as happy as you would want to be during the holiday season. And volunteering is a big one. Everyone loves to give back during this season. For people who don't have family to go to connect with your community and just be a part of it.
All right, Leah, thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank
and some just great advice, and also that program. It sounds really wonderful over there at the hospital. Up next, we're going to sit down with a community helpline for anyone who needs it. Welcome back. We continue our conversation this morning with Elizabeth Burrows, the Director of Development and Community Relations for 211 Palm Beach and Treasure Coast. Elizabeth, welcome. Thanks for being here.
So glad to be here. Thank you.
Talk to us about 211 and what the program offers.
Absolutely. So 211 Palm Beach and Treasure Coast is a 24-hour crisis hotline and community helpline. We've been operating in Palm Beach County for over 50 years, and we've been serving the Treasure Coast for more than 20 years. We are best known for our core program, the 211 helpline, which is that 24-hour helpline, but we also offer several other internal advocacy programs and crisis support programs for different types of populations that face a higher risk of crisis.
And why is 211 just so important to know about, especially during the holiday season?
Absolutely. The biggest reason is really that there are so many ways that people can face crisis. There are so many different types of crisis situations. And whenever crisis strikes, it's really difficult to figure out what to do, where to turn to for help, who to call, how to access the help, what times you should be able to make those phone calls, where to go. And 211 just cuts to the chase with all of that. There's only one number that people need to remember, and that's 211.
And do you see an increase in phone calls during this time of year?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just that the volume of calls and requests for help increases for us. It's also a change in the types of needs that people are showing during this time. So we get lots of requests for assistance that people feel really acutely around the holidays, things like food or needing access to gifts for their children and families, or even people who just need more emotional support because it's a heavy time of year.
So 211 really does so much more than just offer mental health support.
Absolutely. So in addition to being able to call and speak to one of our trained specialists, you can also go on our website and search our online directory. We maintain a database of over 1,600 agencies in our 5-county region that offer over 5,000 programs and services that help people meet their needs.
And Elizabeth, you don't have to necessarily pick up the phone to be able to get any help that you may need. There's other ways too to get in touch with 211.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. So we have a call center, but we answer more than just calls. You can also text us, and you can go to our website and start an online chat, and you'll reach our same highly trained team. It's live professionals. There's no bots. There's no recordings. You're talking to a live person.
And the text number is 211 as well?
It's actually 898-211.
898-211.
Yes.
All right, perfect. And that's on your website, I know, as
Absolutely.
well. Do you, are children, I guess, allowed to call, or teenagers allowed to call that are under the age of 18?
Yes, absolutely. And this is another really good point. Thank you for giving us a chance to clarify this. 211 is available to anyone that reaches out to us for help. There's no age limit, no other type of criteria. It doesn't matter where you're from or what you're doing. If you call 211 or text or chat with us, we're able to serve. It's also really important that people know that our service is available for free and that it's completely confidential.
I would think that since you put in the text message option and also the chat option online, that you've probably been able to help so many more other people, because they don't have to worry necessarily about, speaking to anyone, in a sense, or, their voice being out there, anything like that.
Absolutely. There are so many people who need help. They want to reach out for help, but they're in a position where they can't physically talk. They might be sharing a space with someone that doesn't want them to talk, or it might be too noisy in their environment, or maybe they just don't have a great signal. And so having those other ways to reach out to 211 is really important.
Yeah. How do you, I guess, if you want to volunteer with 211, or is that allowed? How is it that you can maybe help out on the other end of it?
Absolutely. So we're actively recruiting volunteers for one of our favorite programs. It's called the Sunshine Program. We offer free daily phone calls to seniors that are isolated or homebound and have no one else in the area to really check up on them. And so we actually have a team of volunteers that make over 600 phone calls every single day, 365 days a year to these seniors, and we are always looking for more volunteers. It's a great program, and it's a life-saving program. There are so many times where if a client doesn't answer their scheduled call, it might be because they've had some type of medical incident or they've slipped and fallen, and our team starts an intervention and calls for a welfare check that ends up getting them the life-saving support that they need.
Elizabeth, what about if you're someone that maybe is seeing a loved one struggling? Are you allowed to call 211 on behalf of someone else to maybe just get some advice about how to go about that situation?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that I want people to know is that our agency, 211, actually answers the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline in the area as well. And so if you or someone who is struggling with thoughts of suicide, or you're worried that you're seeing changes in their behavior that makes you think they might be in trouble, you can dial 988 and you'll speak to our trained team. We're accredited to provide suicide prevention services, and we will walk you through resources, ways to help, and if need be, we can connect you to other resources for support.
And I just want to point out that number that you said earlier for people to text. We have it right there on your screen right now. If you want to take a quick photo of it, just write it down. It's up there on the screen. Elizabeth, what do you want to say to someone who maybe is watching this morning and is just really hesitant to call and get that help?
Yeah, now is always the perfect time to reach out for help. You don't even have to know what kind of help you need. We've got a team that will ask the questions and help you figure it out, and then direct you to the resources that are best fit for you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us this morning, Elizabeth. We
Thank you for
appreciate it. It's
having
really
me.
great information to put out there. We appreciate it. We'll be right back after this. Before we go this morning, a reminder that help is always available, and you are not alone if you are struggling during the holidays or any time of the year. You can call or text 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And locally, 211 Palm Beach and Treasure Coast is also available. You can call, you can text, you can also chat on their website. Thank you so much for making us a part of your morning. As always, we encourage you to be part of our discussion each and every Sunday right here at 10 a.m. Until then, you can watch this morning's On the Record and every episode on our website, WPBF.com, and our free WPBF 25 News app. From all of us here at WPBF 25, have a wonderful Sunday and happy holidays. We'll see you again next weekend.